If you haven't seen the film Hidden Figures, take the time to watch the film. It's a slice of American history that's fascinating and hidden inside Hidden Figures about Katherine Johnson, one of the human calculators in the Apollo mission, is a lesson we can all learn from. And it's a lesson on textbooks. Oh, there's a tease for you in this episode of the VO Heroes podcast. As it was coming out of my mouth, I'm like, yeah, that's going to get people to listen and watch, talk about textbooks for sure. Anyway, Katherine Johnson was one of a group of women that worked at NASA doing calculations in the days before computers were doing calculations. In fact, they were referred to as human calculators or human computers. And there's a whole backstory of the racial equality or an inequality that was occurring at NASA in those days and how it was dismantled just so that people could get their jobs done. It's a fascinating film. It's a very well done film. Taraji P. Henson does a great job as Katherine, and it's worth watching. And I'm not sure if this is in the movie, but there's a quote from Katherine Johnson who, when asked about the fact that they were developing techniques and strategies and tactics for the moon landing and the flights that occurred previous to the moon landing, that no one had ever done before. There were no courses on how to do this. There were no books on how to do this. There were no textbooks on even the math in some cases on how to do this. And she famously said, there were no textbooks, so we had to write one. And I feel like that's something that we do as creative people all the time. You know, when you work on an assembly line, you can fine-tune how fast the line is going, how narrow the track is, how close the tolerances are on the cutting or the forming or the moving. You know, you can develop that over time and you can hone and refine that procedure. We do that from time to time as well. You know, we do things over and over and over again. But sometimes we're creating things specifically for what we do from scratch. I'm talking to not only my actor students and followers and peers, but also my voiceover people, my writing people for Narrate Your Own Book. We're constantly writing our own textbooks that didn't exist. We're constantly creating out of whole cloth. It's kind of our superpower. You know, we're given a role to play, or we think of a plot or an arc, and we need to know how to develop that. We create those things out of whole cloth. There are no textbooks on how to create that next creepy evil villain that I'm going to play on television. Now, there are some things I can take for other creepy evil villains that I've done, just as, you know, the Apollo human calculators used various methods of math to figure out what was going on. But in many cases, it was just on the fly. We had to figure out how to do it on our own. There's another episode of this podcast that I've done on the term skunk works. And it talks about, you know, the idea of putting together a small group to get a job done that had never been done before, or to explore something that had never been explored before. And I want you to take a moment and recognize that you have that superpower. If you're watching this, you have that superpower. You do. And I'd love for you to talk about it. When you're presented with something that you've never done before, you don't know how to do, what happens to you inside? What are the feelings that you get? What is the process that you go through? It may be something that is so, you know, matter of fact and familiar to you, creating something new out of whole cloth, that you don't much think about it. You just do it. But know that there are many, many, many more people that can't do what you can do. And you should be aware of that and be very proud of that and use that to your advantage. What's it like when you have to create a character out of whole cloth, when you have to create an approach to something out of whole cloth. Let me know in the comments below. And I mean on VOHeroes.com. That's where this podcast lives. Join the conversation there. It's polite. It's respectful. Want to know what happens when you're faced with something you've never done before. How do you handle that? Hit the like button if you like what you're hearing in this episode. You can subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button. You can click the notification bell and be notified when a new episode comes out. You can even share this with another actor or voice talent or writer who may not know their superpower in creating things, in writing their own textbooks. I'm David H. Lawrence the 17th. I thank you so much for watching and for listening, and I will see you in the next episode of the VO Heroes podcast.